Chapter 18 of 2 Samuel continues the heartbreaking story of Absalom's rebellion against his father David. You can only imagine the angst, the pain that David went through, not only running for his life, but running from his own son and his good friends and those he thought were loyal to him. This is a very dark hour for David. But we find then that the battle is on. David has now been given time to develop a battle plan, exactly what Hushai wanted him to do, and Absalom has fallen for this bad advice. And so David now in verse 2 sets up his forces under three commanders: Joab, his main commander, his brother Abishai, and a man named Hittai, who is a Gideite. And so we have three commanders leading three forces of David's men. Now, David does give one charge to his forces because his great heart, his great concern is with Absalom. He charges his commanders, saying, verse 5, "Deal gently for my sake with the young man Absalom." So his great concern is the fate of Absalom. Even though Absalom is trying to kill him, trying to dethrone him, he's concerned about his son. Now the people of Israel were defeated, verse 7, that day, and 20,000 men were killed. And so David, like the great commander that he was, had developed a plan in which he defeated Absalom's forces in a great way. 20,000 people died in battle. And Absalom himself had to flee. Now we find a very interesting story there. In verse 9, Absalom is riding on his mule, no doubt trying to escape. He went underneath the thick branches of a great oak tree, probably wasn't watching where he was going. Maybe he was looking behind him or whatever, and his head got caught fast in the oak. So somehow in the branches or the whatever of this oak, he has his head stuck, and he's hanging between heaven and earth, and the mule kept going, so he's just hanging there. Apparently it didn't kill him, but it probably knocked him unconscious, and there he is, hanging unconscious from that tree. And some soldiers see him there, and they obviously could have killed him, but they did not do so. And they come back and they tell Joab in verse 14 what's going on, that I saw Absalom, and he's hanging in that tree. Well, Joab is upset. Why didn't you kill him? Well, I'm not going to kill the king's son. Remember what he said. You heard what he said. Deal gently with Absalom. But Joab is not in a mood to listen. So in verse 14, he says, "So he took 3 spears in his hand, thrust them through the heart of Absalom while he was yet alive in the midst of the oak." So taking no chances whatsoever, Joab kills him with 3 spears as he hangs there from the tree. Then they take his body, verse 17, cast it into a deep pit in the forest, and Absalom's reign is over. He's done for. Well, several men, a couple of men in particular, wanted to go back and bring the news to David of the great victory. And but Joab did not necessarily want his more favorite runner to do that, because not only would he give good news about the victory, he would also give bad news about Absalom, and he didn't know how David might react to that. But when the news actually got to David, it happened pretty much the way Joab thought it would. When he says in verse 32, "Let the enemies of my lord the king and all who rise up against you for evil be as that young man, may he be dead like that." What does David do? Verse 33, "The king was deeply moved and went up to the chamber over the gate and wept. And thus he said as he walked, 'O my son Absalom, my son Absalom, would I had died instead of you. O Absalom, my son, my son.'" He is grief-stricken for his son. 5 times he calls him my son here. His heart is there. He's not thinking at all about the victory of his forces or what it cost them to bring that victory. All of his energy is pointed towards Absalom. Now that's not going to play well with Joab, as we will see tomorrow.